Starting seated with the bottoms of your feet together, back nice and straight, just trying to open up the hips a little bit here, your adductors, loosen up your low back. Take a nice deep breath, and on the exhale, you're just going to nudge forward, making sure not to round the spine. From here, we're going to separate the feet and the knees, and we're going to windshield wiper the knees, so internal, external rotation here through the hip, really trying to turn that knee down to the floor on that internal rotation. So if the legs are swinging to the right, you're pressing that left knee, the inside of that knee, down to the floor as much as possible, and vice versa. You might really be able to tell the difference between the two sides. Taking your time, this is just breaking into the hips a little bit. From here, you could bring the bottoms of the feet together again. You might feel a little bit more loose, and then we're going to kick one leg back into that 90-90 position, pressing that front knee down to the floor so you have more of an external rotation here, taking deep breaths and really pushing into the hip, letting that leg rotate through the joint. Just a few breaths here. And then we'll take that back foot and add some internal rotation. So lifting the foot without moving the body as much as possible. Just gonna go about 5 times. And then we're gonna switch sides. So getting into that 90-90 position with the other leg in front, pressing that knee down to the floor. You should feel it in your hip. If you don't feel it in your hip, if you're upright, you could start folding forward a little bit, just making sure that your spine stays nice and straight. From here, we'll do our rotations on that back leg, lifting the foot with control as much as you can. Nice and steady. From here, we'll go back into the windshield wipers. You should feel like it's a little bit easier to get those knees down to the floor this time. We'll come up to our feet now for a nice tall extension and then a forward fold, taking your time and then sinking down into a nice low squat sit, pushing those knees apart. And then jumping back into a tall plank, really focusing on stacking over the hands and pushing that floor away, and then shifting back into a down dog. If pedaling the feet here feels good, go ahead and do so. Shifting forward into that plank, warming up the core, getting the shoulders ready for support, and then pushing back into that down dog again. One more time into plank. From here, we'll drive the knee forward, and that same leg will extend back in a split down dog, and then that same leg swings forward into a nice low runner's lunge. Kind of noodle around here, find your stretch, and then that back leg is going to swing over to the side, so you're in a figure 4 position. Returning that leg to the back, and then to that split down dog, back to that plank, and switching legs. So the other leg's going to come up, and then forward into that runner's lunge. When you're ready, you're going to lift the hips, and you'll send that back leg across. So you get a nice deep stretch through the front hip, but then also through your side body. Sending that leg up and back into that tall plank, and switching again. We'll go about 3 times on each side. Taking your time and breathing through the movement, making sure to stay strong through the shoulders. and only dropping into that figure 4 as much as you feel like you're in control. You try not to dump into it. You don't need to come down very low to make gains in this posture. One last time around here, driving the knee in, extending it back in that split down dog, and then dropping it low into that runner's lunge. Lifting the hip, sending that leg across into that figure 4, staying strong through the shoulders, sending it back to that split down dog and into a plank. Holding the plank just a little bit longer here, nice and strong through the shoulders. We'll start walking the hands back toward the feet. The feet should be about hip width apart. Really sending those hips back, getting a nice extension through the hamstrings. Turning to your left foot, and then turning to the right, back to the center, taking your time, rolling up nice and tall, big extension overhead, reaching to one side and the other.